Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about what mindset differences I experienced when I did hypertrophy versus powerlifting or strength training. Let's get into the video now. So when I did hypertrophy training, I had to change my mindset completely from a powerlifter. I used to have very tough, I had to focus every workout to push a certain amount of weight and reps, what the program is asking. But now when I changed to hypertrophy a few months ago, when I tried it, I had to shift my mindset to be more focused on mind to muscle connection. The amount of reps I'm doing needs to be higher. I need to control the movement more. There's no need to be mentally tough when you're lifting lighter but higher reps. So that's a big difference into the mindset. There's no need for you to listen to freaking pop rock music shouting in your ears before lifting the amount of weight like in powerlifting. You can literally train without music in hypertrophy training because it doesn't require that focus. It requires more focus onto how you're lifting the weight, what technique you're using so you're increasing the range of motion. Maybe if you're doing a leg press, what positioning of your feet are on the pad, how deep you go into the leg press, how much range of motion you take into each exercise you do. Maybe you never trained failure before in powerlifting and you shouldn't. Do not train failure in powerlifting. You only train to failure in hypertrophy, not in powerlifting. It's a very important thing between the two. One trains basically to failure, to exhaustion and to burning sensation and all that. The other one needs to be low reps, high weight, RP 5 to 8 maximum. And the reps should not go higher than 6, usually, in the main list, squat, bench, and deadlift. Hypertrophy, they're not focused on the main compound lifts. You can get more hypertrophy by doing a Smith, a squat, quad focused on the little inclined plates for more quads. You don't need to do a back squat to grow muscle on your quads. You can just do a Smith machine, squat, quad focused on the plate, slow on the way down, pausing. Also, there's a lot of slowing down in hypertrophy, under tension kind of moments. You have to always be, every rep, even though you're going to failure, you have to always be the same technique. Maybe the last rep, let's say on lateral raise, if you're doing a cable one, let's say you're going down slow, right? And then maybe the last rep you can swing a little bit, right? So you get the most amount of muscle possible. Hypertrophy training did make me realize there's not that high a risk of you injuring yourself like it is in powerlifting or strength training, because the load, first of all, it's on most times you're using machines and cables where they assist you so much. For example, the hack squat, your back is assisted on a pad. You're only moving your legs basically to perform the movement. Whereas a back squat, you have to take the weight, the heavy load, walk it back, brace, squat down, push, then walk back, put the weight back, you know? There's a lot more risk in powerlifting to get injured. Not always, but if you're doing everything right, there's a higher risk of you getting injured in powerlifting just because there's a lot more steps to do an exercise. Also, to grow muscle, you have to be extremely consistent into training each muscle groups more than 10 sets a week, which can be hard for some people. I trained each muscle group more than 10 sets a week, 5 days. I had 2 days lower, 2 days upper, 1 arm and weak point day. You have to be very specific and very ready to make sure you're recovering. That goes for both. Recovery, you grow muscle not only in the gym, but you mainly grow it outside of the gym with your nutrition, with your protein and nutrients. You eat outside of the gym and before a session, as well as after. So you repair them muscle cells that have been broken down for hours and hours of my reps and long left partials and pulse squats and 3 seconds down and paused. You have to repair them with protein and high quality nutrient dense food, animal food, dairy products, good simple carbs. Because if you want to grow muscle, you have to really be focused on the the amount of grams of protein you eat in a day, actually. Because people don't realize when you cook your food to very overcooked stage, it might say on my fitness pal, beef mince, 5%, 200 grams has, I don't know, 20 grams of protein, but in reality it actually has 7 or 8. It removes so much of the nutrients the more you cook your food. So you need to make sure you have some knowledge of how actually macronutrient work, as in how many grams you're actually intaking. The only thing that might be right is your fat intake and maybe carb intake in your fitness pal numbers. Yeah, so that's a big thing. Whereas in powerlifting, you still want to eat great, and you shouldn't be any different between the two. But you're not that focused on eating to the exact grams until the rest of your day is gone. I usually in powerlifting eat what gives me energy and what makes me feel good. I did the same in hypertrophy, but I chose foods that aligned with my goals. And in powerlifting, I choose other foods, they're quite similar, that achieve with recovering me better, giving me more energy during sessions, because powerlifting is it's like a big peak, right? You have to achieve this peak. Every workout, you have to hit this RP, this percentage number. This is the biggest difference between hypertrophy and powerlifting, because in powerlifting you have to achieve this big number most workouts for 2 reps. Let's say I need to do 92% on my squat, 115 kg of 2 reps, but maybe that day you just didn't feel that good. You wasn't recovered, maybe you're on your cycle, maybe you didn't sleep good, So you can't always be 100% ticking the boxes. Whereas in hypertrophy, you're training lighter, you're training higher reps. Even though you're not feeling that good that day, you can always adjust, because you're not chasing the goal of increasing the strength. You're chasing the goal of more muscle. And more muscle doesn't mean lifting more weight. It means having that technique to be challenging, the right technique to be challenging, and also enough load so you push your muscles and they're able to grow with that. In powerlifting, you have this thing where you need to tick boxes all the time, and it's not always nice to be that way. Sometimes it can get a bit too much, but personally, I love hypertrophy. I loved doing hypertrophy for 4 months, from October up to February. I did hypertrophy and it was great. I did see great results. I felt much bigger, and I am much bigger as in size. The centimeter tape is up, which is a good thing. It's not always a bad thing. Don't worry about that. And now that I've been doing powerlifting, I'm starting week 5. This week is deload, so I'm just gonna be training lighter than usual, and I'll be ready to rock and roll next week with more load. Also, the mindset of powerlifting, we focus a lot on mastering the technique, and we are very precise, and we constantly analyze and adjust our form so we are more efficient with the movement. If we find something works better, for example, a stance in the squat, maybe we change it a little bit so we are able to hit more weight and also be easier on us with our mechanics. It's a huge difference in that mindset as well. Hypertrophy training doesn't require you to work under high pressure, if that makes sense. You're not under pressure to move that weight today. Whereas in powerlifting, you're required to be mentally tough and mentally ready to push maximal loads nearly every few days, which is a big challenge and a big difference in mindset between bodybuilders and powerlifters. Also, the community is completely different. I feel like powerlifters are a bit more supportive. It's like a community. They support one another. They hype you up before you lift. Whereas in bodybuilding, it's a bit different. Everyone is their own individual. That's what I've seen in my personal experience. But with that being said, this is my experience between what was different in hypertrophy and what was different in powerlifting. Let me know what mindset requires your training. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.